All right. Water sip.
I thought I had
Need a water sip? There
one.
you go, brother.
I-
All right. Ready?
Mhm.
Cool. All right, let's get you first introduce yourself.
My name's Joey. I go by Fugazi Glass. I am from Florida, not from Eugene, where everyone is that you're interviewing. Um, I've been blowing glass for about like 6 years, approximately. It's kind of hard to keep an exact date on how long I've blown glass, but yeah.
Hey, why did you choose the artist name you did?
Um, Kind of like a convoluted answer. I used to go by Creepy Spooky, which horrible name choice, did not fit very well. I wasn't making anything creepy or spooky. And the guy who taught me how to blow glass was really big into fume. He went by Bone Lord. Unfortunately, he passed away last August. But kind of like a combination of tired of the other name and wanting to push myself more with fume, kind of in his honor, just to like carry his legacy. But yeah, and it's a much more memorable name. It's also a nod to Fugazi, which is a band I really like. So
Okay,
yeah.
great. What's the first thing you made in glass?
The first thing I ever made was one of those like super cheap $5 chillums where you just take a piece of 9.5, heat up a section, and roll it. Um, that was the first lesson I ever took with my buddy, and he also taught me a mushroom implosion in the same day, kind of like a cliche answer, but yeah, that was definitely the first things. I think I still have the chillum somewhere. I don't know though.
I was gonna ask that if you still
Yeah,
had either
I
of them.
think I still have it. I know I still have my first spoon somewhere, and it is god awful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
My first one was pretty good, and then my next like 50 were trash.
yeah.
I
Beginner's
love it.
luck.
Yeah, exactly. I had that a lot early in my career. It was awful, man. So you talked a little bit about it, but give us a rundown on how you got started in glass.
um, so I like was collecting for a while. Um, there used to be a smoke shop called Wonderland in West Palm, where I'm from, and they used to have like demos all the time that I used to have to sneak into when I was like 15 years old to go fucking watch people. Um, and there was like all sorts of really big names there. Buck, Phil Siegel, I think came by. Kind. Banjo was there a couple of times. Just Joe Peace. Just all the big names are out there. And I used to go there all the time and check out all the glass blowing and wanted to be in the scene so bad. And when I finally got into college, I went to UCF and was in their art program and kind of tried out every medium they offered, like sculpting with clay, 3D design, drawing and painting, all that stuff. And while I was in college, I met this kid who was also collecting glass and he knew how to blow glass. So I asked him for a lesson and he was like, fuck no, I'm not teaching you, dude. I do not know what I'm doing. And he recommended me to that guy, Bone Lord, Eric. And I pulled up to my first lesson with Eric and I was wearing this band shirt, Sweet Valley, and nobody ever fucking knew who Sweet Valley was except for him. And that kind of like we clicked on that, and it was supposed to be an hour long lesson. It ended up being like 9.5 hours because we were just hanging out and shooting the shit. And then ever since then, I just kind of hung out at his spot for like four-ish years, just kind of learning everything I could without really touching anything. And then I finally got my own setup. Like it was what 2017, 2018 maybe. Yeah. But yeah,
Okay.
I got started by just asking around until I found someone. It was right at the time when the internet was coming into play and it was like kind of breaking down the barriers of glass blowing and all the obstacles it took to get involved with it. So I think it was like a great time to get started. But yeah, that's kind of how I did it.
Great. Uh, so I'm guessing some of the people that were teaching you were big influences, but were there other big influences on your work when you started?
Yeah, for sure. it's like hard to name how many people inspire me with glass. It's kind of something I just live and breathe. Um,
Well, how about when you were first getting going? Was there somebody where you were like, "Oh man, I want to be able to make some of that kind of stuff in
it
the
was
future"?
it was my buddy Bone Lord. Like that was like
Yeah.
my
Okay.
biggest inspiration. I would watch him and all the shit he was doing and all the people he was hanging out with, and yeah, right after we met and were hanging out for a little while, he actually moved out here to Eugene for a little while and lived with Maddie White and the Snodgrass family for a little bit. Um, and when he came back after that, it was like I never really understood any of that. I hung out with Hugh a couple times before then, but I didn't understand any of the stuff going on over here, and he brought all that knowledge back. So like that was pretty inspiring when I first started hearing about all the old school stuff. Old school has always been the most inspiring side of glassblowing for me. So um, yeah, kind of a complicated answer, but mostly through my buddy Eric Bone Lord was where I got most of the inspiration from. Was people he was showing me or people he was having come by the house and stuff like that. So yeah,
Yeah, it's
he
very
played a big
natural, and
role.
seems like it kind of just as things were coming around you, you kind of discovered
Yeah,
things, which is a
yeah,
great
one
way
hundred
to do
percent.
it, man. Yeah. Where did you first sell your glass?
Mm, it was mostly to like kids I was in class with or people I was working with. I was delivering pizza at the time, so like I was making pipes for like people who made pizzas and shit. Uh, it took me forever to get into like any stores or anything like that. It wasn't because I was like stores weren't buying my work. It was my personal like confidence in my glass. I didn't think it was ready enough until I don't know a couple years in, and then I started selling to one of the shops that I was like, it was kind of tied to our studio, and I was selling some work out of there. But it's mostly always been in person at events. Like that's my big thing. I like going to festivals and selling glass to people. I think it's much more personable, and they remember you,
Yeah.
not just as like a username. So my first sales were just college kids and stuff like that. But as I progressed, I've kind of straight away, not straight away, but haven't sold much to shops. It's always been at festivals or
Yeah.
events.
Cool, man. Are there certain objects that you made at the start that you still make?
Yeah, I mean, I still make dry pipes. That's like my favorite thing to make, and bubblers and everything for flour. I love making rigs and I love making a lot of the stuff for dabbing and stuff. Um, there's just some kind of flow I feel when it comes to making like a really old school dry pipe or something like that. I really like how you can get into the free form side of things, whereas a lot of stuff for dabbing and hash is all very technical, which I also love too. Don't get me wrong, that's like super fucking cool. But stuff I like to make is all the dries and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something I've always done. They've gotten much more advanced and clean, but obviously, but yeah, that's like my bread and butter.
Great. Um, so paint us a picture of what the scene looked like for you when you were first getting started.
Oh, so like it was definitely like when I first got into glass, like I was saying, when I was sneaking into Wonderland, I don't know if I should say that. It was a lot more low key and underground, and you like had to know someone who knew someone and stuff like that. Um, so it was like it kind of felt almost impossible to be involved with it. You know, to be completely honest, like I never thought I would be around half the people I'm around now. Um, but like shortly after that was right when Degenerate Art came out and like the popularity spike of glass blowing really happened. So that was honestly like one of my favorite times in glass blowing was like 2015, 2017, maybe 2018. And I was lucky enough, that was like when I was in college. I had a couple of friends who were like super high end collectors. So they would have me around, and I was just a broke freshman in college, so I couldn't afford any of that shit. But they like have me around because I knew what I was talking about and I knew some of the artists and stuff. But yeah, I would say like when I first got into it, it was I wouldn't say closed off. It just like for me personally felt like I didn't think I would ever be hanging out with these dudes, and to be here now is like kind of extremely surreal and like I don't know. It's yeah, surreal is the best way I can put it. Like hanging around with some of these dudes because I've been following them for fucking 15 years, you know. So
Yeah, great.
yeah.
What do you feel like inspires your work the most right now?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know, honestly. Hanging out with some of the old school cats like Hugh and Cam Towers. I've been hanging out with them a lot recently, and just their approach to glass blowing is pretty inspiring to me. It's a lot more fun than when I see some of the dudes who struggle with the technicality of stuff. Um, but me personally, I always like to say like trying to get inspired outside of glass blowing is what I like to do. Like anything outside of the pipe making world that I can bring into it is what I really want to do. I just haven't really like formulated or gone after that kind of thing yet. I have a bunch of ideas drawn out. I just haven't
Yeah.
executed them.
Well, it's great because the next question is actually what's your favorite thing to do outside of glass?
Oh, um, that's also a good question. I haven't done a whole lot outside of glass the last like 5 years because our studio that I was working out of was about a mile away from where I lived. So like every morning at 7 a.m., get up, walk to the studio or ride my bike or whatever. Um, and then just kind of work all day until I'd pass out and go home. I'm like just now starting to like go out and do more shit, especially being out here when there's like really nice nature and it's not as unbelievably hot. So I mostly like to like ride my bike and go and explore stuff whenever I have free time. Um, I hang out with my dog a lot when I'm back home. He's like a good studio dog. Movies are like my weak spot. Like I'm a big movie head. Um, but yeah, other than that, I don't know. I'm trying to figure that out myself right now.
Yeah, it's a great answer.
Yeah.
What's your favorite thing to make right now?
Um, I really enjoy making those like I haven't made a whole lot, but the dry rigs are pretty fun. Like just the little squatty blocks with like a really nice mouthpiece and a little 10 mil joint on them. I think those are super fun. Um, and marbles. Marbles are like they're never not fun. Yeah. They're always super, super cool. And there's so much you can do in a marble. It's wild.
Yeah. Next question is what do you hope the scene looks like in 10 years?
Oh. Um, I don't know, honestly. I there's constantly talk about that with every person I hang out with in the glass scene. Not necessarily about 10 years, but like just what the future of the glass blowing scene is gonna look like. I hope that this dip that everyone's talking about will come back and the popularity of it will come back. Um, I hope that there will be more what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say institutions. Studios, bigger studios open for the public to try this kind of stuff out. Um, I don't think there's really enough of that in our scene. I think that's kind of why there's a little bit of a shrinking of popularity, I guess. But I just hope that it becomes more understood by the general public. And I don't really know of a proper way to do that because it's something you have to feel to understand. And that's why I hope that there's like just more publicly available studios for people to come in and try it out. Because that's literally what changed my mind on it and made me want to do it. And the light bulb clicked or whatever how you want to say it was the first time I touched it, because I watched people do it for so long, and I was like, wow, that looks really cool. The second I touched it, I was like, this is what I want to do. So I know there's other people out there that feel the same way, but it's kind of hard to find someone to let you mess around on their torch or play around. So
Yeah, that's a great answer.
yeah,
What do you feel more glass blowers should be paying attention to?
personal experiences with like the people who are selling glass too,
Hmm.
and not just relying on Instagram and you know, Instagram's great, the populated, everyone's great, it's awesome, but I've had better experiences like meeting someone in person who may not even know who I am at all, but I show them that I make cool pipes, and we hang out a little bit, smoke a bowl, whatever, and they eventually become like some of my best supporters.
Yeah.
Because they like you. So I think there's a little bit of a disconnect in our scene right now with the internet and the customer base. And I don't think it's that hard to go and do the personal connection thing. I understand you have to go to festivals and it costs money and all that, but it's also fun. So yeah,
I do.
yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, love it. All right, we're on the last question. What do you hope to accomplish in glass?
Oh, to be completely honest, it's like my biggest motivating factor is being able to like help my parents out in my later age, I guess. Like, they've they've helped me out throughout my life, like most parents do. But just to be able to like give back to them through pipe making would be like the most amazing thing ever. So, um, that's kind of my biggest goal, and that's what keeps me inspired and going with this is like eventually wanted to kick ass at it and be able to like buy my dad a boat or like something like that, like that would be insane.
Yeah, love that, dude. All right, man. That's it. Thank you.
Cool.